This video is one of a series on sketching trigonometric functions. This one looks at vertical translations. Now, also include amplitude changes or period changes just to progress from the previous video that looked at those. So looking at this equation here, y equals 2 cos of x plus 3. First thing you do is it's a cos function. So what does a cos function look like? It starts at the top and goes down and up. So start with your basic graph. Move on, you've got a 2, so that means your amplitude equals 2. That means it would go between -2 to 2. But we have this plus 3 at the end. So that is a vertical shift 3 units up. So that means my min goes from -2 up 3, which is 1, and my max moves from 2 up 3, which is 5. So now I have this cos curve going between 1 and 5. If it helps, the mid is usually 0, so it's going up 3, so it's at 3. Okay, so there's one thing left to do, and that's looking at the period. There is nothing in front of the x, so the period is the standard 2 pi. So our graduations on our x-axis, or our scale on the x-axis, 2 pi divided by 4 is pi on 2, so it's our standard pi on 2, pi, 3 pi on 2, and 2 pi. So just going around that unit circle. Okay, so now we need to draw our axes, but remembering when you draw them that it's the graph's being translated up. So your minimum is 1 and your maximum is 5. So remember that when drawing your axes, because you're going to need that x-axis a lot lower than normal. Okay, so hopefully you can see why I've placed the x-axis so low, but when I put in my scale, it'll become clearer. So our x-axis is our pi on 2, pi, 3 pi on 2, and 2 pi. Our min is 1 and our maximum is 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You could use a ruler to draw dotted lines across to help you do that. And your mid is 3, just to help you with drawing. Again, if it helps you, you could draw those going down as well. Okay, use a ruler like what I have done, just to make my life easier. So, going back to our little sketch at the top, it's a cos curve, so it starts at the top. We go down, down, up, up. Okay, so now join your dots. Curve at either end, because there is no domain, so it keeps going, and label your graph. Let's look at the next one. It's a sine curve. So basic graph, sine curve starts at 0, 0. Amplitude is 3. So it would normally go from -3 to 3. We have a vertical translation of -1 though. So 1 unit down. So that means my minimum is now -3 minus 1, which is -4. My maximum is equal to 3 minus 1, which is 2, and you could do your midpoint if you wanted to. Mid is normally 0, so 0 minus 1 is going to be -1. Okay, move on to period. The number in front of the x is a 2, so the period is going to be 2 pi divided by 2, which is pi. We now have to divide that into 4, so pi over 4, and that will give us our x scale. So we have pi over 4, 2 pi over 4, 3 pi over 4, 4 pi over 4. Simplifying, that one's pi on 2, and that one is pi. Going to our axes, we're only moving down 1, so the axes can be centered if you want. Doesn't really matter too much. Our 4 points, 1, 2, 3, 4. Put our scale on, pi on 4, pi on 2, 3 pi on 4, pi. We're going from -4 up to 2. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. Use a ruler and draw your scale properly. Again, dotted lines, use a ruler. It would be quicker than what I'm doing. Your mid as at -1. Drawing in your grid if it helps. Going down. Okay. Go back to your basic curve. It starts at 0, 0, but it's translated down 1. So that's why these dotted lines help. So you're going from that point up to the top, back down, down, and up. So now putting in your curve, so join the dots. Spread my x scale out a fair bit, so it means my curve does look like it's stretched out a bit more. Label y equals 3 sine 2x minus 1. When we solve trigonometric equations, we'll get to the stage where we can find these x-intercepts, but at the moment it's not required. We have provided enough information on that graph and it doesn't say to find x-intercepts.